Credit to Splash Digi. I am the orchestrator of all of this. You can just introduce yourself to the people and let them know, what in terms of politically where you're at and who you represent.
So my name is RENAIR Benjamin. I'm Councilor for the Westchester Division since March 2012, and my division covers the communities of Westchester, Cumberland, Cumberland Meadows, Portmore Gardens, a small section of Independence City, and and Cumberland. So that's about it. That's the area I represent, and I am a member of the council at the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation and, of course, the Portmore City Municipality, where I serve the people, ensuring that they are represented well at the local level.
Okay. How long have you been in politics?
Well, I've been in politics for the past 15 years and 13 years as councillor.
Okay.
I first entered representational politics in 2007 when I ran in the what was known as the Crescent Division then. I ran there in 2007 and lost. Then in 2012, I ran in the Westchester Division in Portmore, where I was first elected as councillor.
So what was one of your motivations for entering into this career path? Really, well, I don't want to say career path because the service path.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a career path because it's the people who decide how long you keep this job.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so to say I entered into it would not be the correct term. It was more like what led me there. Well, for starters, I've always been to term what is a leader. I grew up in the church where I was a leader at the youth department, men's department. And when I moved into the Angels Estate community in 1999, I was active in the Citizens Association. But before that, I was always a supporter of the People's National Party. I remember in Portmore here, I worked in previous election as outdoor agent and as cluster manager. So I was always a supporter of the PNP. But when I moved to the Angels community in 1999, a few years after I became the president of the Citizens Association, because I was always involved in community through the church, through school. When I was working at Cable and Wireless, I was a member of the UAW and I was a union delegate. So representation and leadership was always something that I'm into. So whilst they're active in the community in Angels Estate, I was introduced to Natalie Nita Garvey. She was councillor of the Lauriston. Yeah, she was councillor of the Lauriston division at the time, and she was selected to replace KD Knight.
Okay.
And I think it's now North Central St. Catherine. Before that, I believe it was East Central or so forth. So that's when I was really introduced to representational politics, because at the time they needed a councillor for the Crescent Division, and I was introduced to her because I was active in the Citizens Association, and we met and we spoke, and from that time I started campaigning with her.
Right.
So I was there, I think it was September 2007 of that year was a general election when she replaced Katie Knight. I campaigned with her right across the constituency, North Central St. Catherine there. And I must tell you that I learned a lot from her.
Right.
She's a workhorse when it comes on to campaigning. Very disciplined lady when it comes on to the politics. Right. I remember her telling me that, Portia told her that, this thing like have to be a fire in your belly. You have to really want it to win. Yes, and I remember walking hills and valleys with her in that constituency. I remember we went up to climb up practically a mountain just to go to one house to meet one lady.
Wow.
And only to be driven away by that person. So,
Yeah.
I would say that, I was got a baptism, a good baptism into the politics,
Right.
working with Natalie Nita Garvey at the time. So she basically was the one responsible for my entry into representational politics. Learned a lot from her. Learned the lessons from running the first time in the Crescent Division. I think my first time outing in the election, I lost by 78 votes that year, and I took the lessons from that campaign and that election and came over back to Portmore, where I basically grew up in the Westchester community and Portmore Gardens, where I would have been more known by family members. The church where I was baptized, Faith Assembly of God, is in that community as well. So it was like coming back home and more familiar with the voters or the electors at the time.
Right. Right. So
So,
what can you tell us about Westchester Cumberland Division? What stands out about that community?
well, it's Westchester Division, and it has mainly middle class, and it has one of what I like to describe as one of the indigenous communities in Portmore, which is Portmore Gardens, where they would have been the original settlers in that era of Portmore. Some of them leased land there going up to 50 years now in the Portmore Gardens area. And then you have the more structured community like Westchester, Cumberland, Cumberland Meadows, and Independence City. Those schemes were built by the NHD and other government agencies. So it's mainly a mixture of middle class, a lot of university graduates. So it's a very progressive community.
Okay. What about
Yes.
sports?
Yes, well, the year when I entered the politics there in 2012, 2011 going into 2012, the Westchester football team, they won the, I think was D1 title. So it's a community that is very active.
Mm,
The communities are very active in sports. Both communities, all the communities, they have a football club, they have netball clubs that are very active. And I am very big on sports as a counselor. I give support to these teams.
right.
So yes, it's a very progressive community. I, along with some members of the Cumberland community, helped to form the Cumberland Raiders Net Club. And every year since that club has been formed, I've been one of their sponsors of their uniforms and playing gears and net balls and so forth. So it's a very active community. Whereas the communities rather are very active where sports is concerned. Because right now in the JNA 2025 league, the Cumberland community has two teams there, and Westchester has a team as well in that league that I am actively supporting.
Right. So you could say that this area is the heartbeat of Portmore, then, given the fact that some of the earliest settlers, that was the point at which they
Yes,
settled.
yes. There are some persons know that they are just regularizing the land situation there, where the government have has acquired some of the land by what is called compulsory acquisition
Mm-hmm.
from the original owners, and some of the owners I can't find, and some of those people are just in the process of getting title, but they will tell you that some of them told me that they have been there from 1974.
Wow. So
So
hold on. Isn't there a law that says after 12 years of paying tax and everything, you own your property? So,
no, for some of those persons they would have what you call, they would have leased the land.
mm-hmm.
So they have where the owners are no, because they would have started out by lease the land. I believe one of the owner was up until the time of compulsory acquisition. He was still alive, and the owners could be found. So the government paid them for the land, and then sold the lands to those who were leasing it. That's on the Portmore Avenue, originally known as Portmore Lane, a
Mm-hmm.
section known as Portmore Close, Venus Close, and a section of Portmore Garden known as, they used to refer to as Scarland. Those owners were known, and then in recent times, persons would have owned the land and died, and there was no proper inheritance set out. So another place named Robinson Close, and a section known as Brown's Land. The government acquired those by compulsory acquisition. The money that they would have paid for the land is going into an escrow fund that when they find the owners or owners come forward, they would get it. But those areas, they had proper lease. People used to pay the lease every year for the land. So it's not a situation where they occupied it and there was no formal agreement between themselves and the owners. So that living on the land undisturbed wouldn't apply to them because the owners were actively collecting their lease.
Okay. What
Yes,
has? Go ahead. Sorry.
so the government has come in recently, putting in infrastructure like road. I remember one area were put in place, and at my insistence, portable water pipes were laid so that they could get dependable water supply.
That's where
So,
I was going to go,
look,
you know, because I wanted to
yeah,
ask you what is some of the biggest cries of the people in terms of what they're demanding from their representative, which is you, and
yeah.
their MP. What is that?
Well, for those original Portmore communities like Portmore Gardens, they are getting their roads now water, and thanks to their former member of parliament, Dr. Paul Robertson, he ensured that they got proper JPS connection and street lights and telephones and so forth. But in terms of their biggest cry now is centralized sewage, because this is one of the drawback for me is that they would have seen the communities like Cumberland, Westchester, Cumberland Meadows developed properly around them with all the amenities, central sewage, water, telephone, light. But they are now left behind where they are not connected to a central sewage system. So some of their grey water is going into the stormwater drain where it shouldn't be going. They have to have soakaways and pits in their yards that they have to pay money time and time again to be pulled. So that is one of my hopes and dreams going forward, that the central sewage network in these original communities can be developed so that it will relieve them of the cost of having to the term drawing their pits, especially when rainfall and so forth. Sanitation is a big issue
Wow.
in that original part of Portmore.
Right.
With that said, my what keep me up as night as councillor these days is garbage collection.
Mighty God. That is a
Yeah,
problem almost everywhere. I realize now.
yes. In spite of the government promises of bringing in 150 trucks, they have brought in some trucks, yes, but I
Mr.
don't know what
Ulane,
seems to
Mr.
be the
Mr. Rainier, Mr. Benjamin.
yeah,
Your microphone
yeah.
is kind of low. I had to
Oh,
turn
you
up.
want me to turn up?
Yeah, I had to
Okay, let me
turn up
try it.
my computer a while ago, and it still was,
Are you hearing me any better?
uh, not
Any
really.
better?
Well,
Wait a
go
minute.
ahead. Me turn it up as much as me can, so they can hear it clearer. So I'll go on mute, but I don't want to cut the bill. Go ahead.
Yes, so the garbage collection situation, very poor. You will have a stretch where like probably a month I don't get any call from the citizens or any complaint. But when you get any calls sometime from citizens that up to a month they have not had any garbage collection, and in some cases there are educational institutions too that are affected, and when that happens, as council have to be calling the NSWMA, because this is one of the upside down things in government in Jamaica, because the municipalities and the local authorities are supposed to be responsible and carrying out garbage collection, but this is being done by the regulator instead, which is the NSWMA. They are the ones doing it when we should have been the one doing it, and then they regulate to ensure that we are doing our job. So it's upside down as we speak.
Okay, so I guess when you guys win the next election, you can put that back in its place where it's supposed to be. Yes.
Well, to be honest, it existed from we were in power, but in recent times, because of the challenges that we have been having, some of my colleagues and myself, we have been lobbying for this to go back to what the law says it's supposed to be.
Mm,
That the municipal authority are responsible,
right.
because we should be responsible. We are the ones who do the property tax and the enforcement for property tax collection, which
Right.
funds garbage collection and street lights. But when those funds are collected, they only reflect on our books in the council for accounting purposes as it been done. But the money is really sent to the NSWMA, and they have their what you call, I forget what you'd call, their subsidiaries like MPM and CPM that actually does the collection. So what should have really happened is that we should be the one collecting and see to the collection. And then when persons and community members now having issues and it's not being collected, they should be calling the NSWMA, which in turn should be contacting us and regulating and probably putting sanctions and different things. But they are the ones doing it, so we have to be actually be the regulator, which we should not be. But on the positive side, though, whenever we do reach out, their parish manager and their monitors do respond,
Right.
but it has to be too often. The
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
areas I would have given them some kudos for or some applause is they have acquired some tipper trucks.
Right.
So like last year, December, with the help of their tipper trucks and getting front and loaders and shutters from the municipality, I was able to remove over 10 truckloads of debris, garbage and construction debris from the communities. And I want to use this opportunity to ask citizens, not just in my division, stop the illegal dumping, stop dumping in on the drain embankments and in the drain and so forth, because it's a perennial problem. As Jamaicans and as citizens,
We have a
we don't
responsibility.
have much. Yeah, we have a responsibility, and a lot of us are not exercising those responsibility.
True.
You will have persons doing construction at their premises, and instead of paying a company or someone to properly dispose of their construction debris, you find them dumping it on the drain embankment or in open lots in the communities. And you have some people who make it a habit to go and collect garbage elsewhere and dump it in the community. So I am appealing to residents. You have a responsibility as well. And then I was taken aback when, someone took me on social media to say that, a particular community is dirty. And I said, listen, you can't accuse that's an indictment against the residents, because the council doesn't dump anything in the community or bring in the garbage there. It's the residents who are living there. And I have been one, sometimes you clean up an area, and once you clean an area, it's almost as if it is an invitation for residents to go back and dump there.
Yeah. Wow.
So they have a responsibility as well. But
All
the
right. So
garbage collection
that
is
seems
a
like a
sore
very
point.
big issue. So
Yes,
what
in
would you
every
say?
community in my division.
So what would you say is the responsibility of a councillor then? Is it to provide proper garbage units to collect the garbage, and then the citizens
Well,
definitely
that's
would
one of
have
the
to
core.
be, huh?
That's one of the core responsibility of the municipalities and the local authority.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Garbage collection,
Yeah.
street lighting,
Yeah.
beautification, some aspect of sanitation.
Right.
So, but as councillor, our jobs goes more than I would say being a councillor is one of the most rounded jobs that I've done. I'm a
You.
trained engineering. I'm a trained
Oh.
engineer
Okay.
in telecommunications
Right.
and computer networking, and I'm telling you, this job as councillor, you have to be a pastor, doctor,
Oh
social
gosh,
worker.
man.
You just have to. People call you for advice just about anything, so you have to be on at the top of your game,
Yes.
knowing what is happening in the country, where opportunities lie for persons, making recommendation. And we have in Portmore at our municipality, we have a very active social work service, social support for community things. So like even before the government come up with the youth summer employment program through the Ministry of Local Government, we have active youth summer employment through the municipality in Portmore. We support citizen association, sports club, as I mentioned earlier, and so forth. So the job as councillor, to me, the local government system that we have in Jamaica here, um, I believe it's the one that is closest to the people and
Yes.
serve the people the most.
Most important.
Yes,
Most
they see
important.
there. So, for example, almost every weekend I'm at a funeral. I was speaking to you, and I was just at a funeral earlier. The people, they want to see their representatives when they are mourning, when they are rejoicing. You have to be at the weddings, the baby showers, you name it, the wakes, when they have the remembrance or the cultural expression for their loved ones who die. So it's almost that the people take it from just what is on paper and your core responsibilities to making you into that social worker, that advisor, that comforter, that person who can be in touch with them. Because a lot of things that even that is not in on paper or responsibility. So like when they have issues, especially with the utility companies, persons were raking me over the coal just a few days ago about a rotten utility pole that is falling and damaging the stanchion on their house. And that is an issue that I would have personally reported to JPS over and over. But when it is not done, people don't distinguish between you,
Yes.
utility companies,
And you have
private
to
or
take
public.
that with humility.
Yes, I have to take it up as if it's my core responsibility as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And write to the utility company, report it, take pictures. I did a video and I said, well, within 2 weeks, if it's not addressed, I'm going to social media with it, because sometimes some of these utility companies, they don't take action until after the posting on X or Twitter or you
Yes.
name it.
Listen,
That's the time
I can see that
they
happening.
choose to respond.
Because that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to tell you. Because that's the time them really, oh Lord.
Hello?
I am here, man. I had to turn off my microphone because I feet was passing with this
Okay, okay.
bass odyssey in its turned up in its vehicle. I think anyway,
Yes.
I was saying that yeah, you have to do that. And
Yes.
I would encourage every single PMP individual to get busy on social media. If there's an issue in
Yes.
your area, you write to
Yeah.
JPS, you put up on your social media. Today I wrote to JPS such and such and such. You see 1 week
Yes.
pass and 2 week pass, you go back to the reference. I wrote to JPS such and such. I haven't got anything, and the people are pressuring me. I think that is going to
Yes.
help with accountability of these
Yes.
agencies to
Because
do their job in a
the
timely manner.
yes, these corporate bodies don't want bad publicity or negative press. So when you go to social media, and I must say with JPS, 12 or 13 years ago when I was councillor, things with them in terms of street lamps have improved. The new technology, the LED lamps that they are using now, they are more reliable than the previous lamps that they used to use. So we don't have frequent outages of street lamps like times gone by. And the response time in terms of repairing street lamps, those have improved.